Hi guys. So this is going to be a quick review of a viewer student that I want to try taking on and supporting for this cycle. So let's jump straight into it. Right off the bat, we have the three college universities experiences, perhaps where you went for a summer program. Jay, do I always have to have a summer program to be competitive for colleges? No, there's a lot of reasons why students don't have summer programs. Their socioeconomic circumstances. Those of you guys who are not seniors but juniors or underclassmen, I understand how some summer programs are going to be very difficult to justify because they could be very expensive. So because colleges have an understanding of those kinds of dynamics, this is not necessarily a requirement for students to be aiming for. With that being said, there are some summer programs that are so competitive that they become essentially the own like a kind of like a pre-filter for a lot of other colleges. And if you're curious about that, you could just look up MIT summer programs to see some examples of that. So I'm going to skip this for now. It's all right. Understanding the socioeconomic circumstances of this student, I don't think that's an issue. Let's take a look at the awards. First place Science Olympiad for an X event. First place. I always love to see these. I'm looking mainly to see what level of recognition you received. And for the college applications, they're going to ask it for international level or Commonapp. They're going to ask for international level, national, state, or regional, and then school, obviously in descending order of potential significance. Um, you have seal of biliteracy in Spanish, non-native speaker. It's fine. I'm fine with that. I think you just have a lot of Science Olympiad, and there are different events probably, and then you have a first place and a fifth place. That's good enough for me. I'd say for a competitive tier one student, even if your grades and test scores were above the 50th percentile, and you had awards like these, you'd be a competitive student. I'd be interested in seeing your leadership. I'd be interested in seeing maybe some of the other activities you did outside. So I could see, like, I'm eyeballing. I'm kind of cheating here and looking at research and seeing. I'm curious about that. And then you have one of the followings. Ooh, you gave me choices. You got accepted to Caltech close up. First thought for me is maybe we could go on Google and we can actually look up the percentage admission rates for some of these. So for example, I think like John Locke's essay contest came out, or at least like I think it was the shortlisted candidates, and I believe we looked up the percentage of what that is, and it's around like 16%, which is still very competitive if you think about the grander scheme of things. But I don't know off the top of my head what the percentage of these are, and frankly, I don't think it's not. I could still. I feel like I could still make a gut reaction here. Second place, the Chicago Science Olympiad Invitational. That's just the same as Science Olympiad. The argument is you might want to consider stacking these three because they're essentially in the same category. So the argument, so I would say like, what would it look like if you stacked all the Science Olympiads and then allowed yourself? So it would look something like this. It would look, you would stack this, you would stack this, and then you would stack this. So by doing that, then that gives you a lot more room to show the range of other awards that you received. So even the AP Scholar with Distinction can round up and take the number 5 spot, whereas you can keep the biliteracy there. I guess like I'm not that impressed by it, so it's a good 4 or 5 when I feel like I'm not that impressed by things. And invitationals for a speech team should easily take number 2. You have regional awards. You can maybe continue to stack that under. And you have the fly-in program. This to me, I think is viable. The academic CC title gives you, I think, up to 100 characters. So in the 100 characters, you can try your best to like jam pack as much of it into here so that you can show that broader range of academic achievements in your tenure. NHS, I think maybe you can even stack with here Academic Honor with Distinction and National Honor Society because they kind of fit into the same frame. So I'm actually showcasing a concept called stacking that I've started to notice in a lot of consistently see in like S tier accepted applications. So that's something you might want to toy with. I'm not saying that's the thing off the top of my head you have to do. It's just my reaction to that. Top 10 activities. Science Cap, yeah, I see that. And it's interesting that your research is in 10th grade. Maybe you followed it up with a publication in 11th grade or something. I'm curious about how you might have followed up with this so that we can expand the duration of this. coding YouTube channel that you maintain. Obviously, you guys, the student is probably, we don't want to name drop, just for privacy's sake. Marching band is cool. Section leader, I think that's cool. Putting that in the number 5 spot. I am looking at top 5 here and looking to see. Well, ultimately, it looks like you seem like a data science, computer science, coding kind of guy. Speech team, senior. It's funny that you put that to 6. That's a good sign. The fact that you're struggling to put a speech for 4 years, the speech and debate team, I'm assuming, for in the varsity for into the 6 slot. That means you've got a really strong set of 5. That's good. It's bullish. Senior mentor, tennis, cool. I wonder if that was varsity, but maybe you left that out for that reason. Volunteer tutoring, nothing of impact importance. Jeez, man, give yourself some credit. Fight for yourself, man. Your job is to fight for yourself. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I don't have comments about the order. I would try to think as hard as I can to just round out and get a 10th, but is 9 really good activities better or good enough? Yeah, it's fine. You don't have to fill all 10. I would say so that the majority of Esther students will fill out all 10. And on top of that, they'll have things left over, which will spill into the additional information. Let's take a look at some of these descriptions. So the Commonapp is actually out, right, guys? You can sign up to the Commonapp now. I know people are talking about August 1st, but I went in and I thought it sent me. Yeah, there it is. There it is, guys. It is out. Let's go through this real quick. You apply as a first-year student and plan to start college in 2024 and 2025. That's the one, guys. That's the one. So let's keep all my colleges. You know how your most current high school? Yes. Are you currently based in a European Union? Nope. Oh, cool. So it did carry over most of the stuff because many colleges changed their questions from year to year. Your response to last year's college questions are not available. So that's why we didn't tell students to go to the My Colleges tab to do anything there yet. Recommenders, any previous recommend invitations are not carried over, again, in the My Colleges tab. So anything in the My Colleges tab is not worth doing early necessarily, but things on the Commonapp tab itself, these carry over and roll over, which is pretty cool. So it's out. So in theory, if you've been working on the Commonapp worksheet, like a lot of my students have, then you should be able to fill out the first 4 sections, pretty self-explanatory. And then from there, go into just copy pasting from your worksheet, the descriptions. So let's take a look at what the descriptions would look like here. Lead team meetings, compete in various scientific events. I wish it wasn't, I don't like this word. This is one of those words where it's a word that's not good to use most of the time. Studied and taught. I've been telling my students and posted in a previous live session that you want to use the ampersand, environmental science, and chemistry. So you have a semicolon at the end. You don't need that semicolon at the end. Just don't bother with it. Just leave it hanging. That's why you're using semicolons to separate in the middle. The character count here is 152. So do I feel enlightened, impressed? Not really. You led team meetings was your opening line. That's so basic. It's so expected. So I think that you need to reset your mind, your frame of mind when you're approaching this, to thinking, I need to start with the most impressive foot forward. I have to show that I am worth the salary, right? Imagine if you're a captain and receiving a salary, like you got to be worth that. I lead team meetings. That's like expected of every leader, man. So that's the first thing that I would want to address with this student. It's the mindset needs to change. It should be best foot forward. Studied and taught 20 plus other members topics such as optics, versus let's say you created the academic data set, or you create the academic resources and also the teaching manuals that then led to the enrollment over 20 students at your school, ranging in subjects in the sciences. I think that sounds a bit more impressive than just listing out optics, environmental science, and chemistry. So I like that you're trying to be specific, but now it's the challenge of, can you be specific towards a way where it sounds more impressive, achievement oriented. You're essentially trying to sell what you achieved, during your tenure as the captain and as a varsity member. Another thing is that you realize that you have 100 CCs for the title organization. Here you could start indicating maybe first team, robotics design challenge. You can start adding and saturating the 100cc in a way that perhaps reflects more awards. I know you mentioned a ton of awards in the top 5 that you're going to have to put in 100cc. So other things you couldn't be able to put in, maybe you can stack it. What other thoughts do I have? I'm fine with this. Just be consistent. If you don't put a space after parentheses, just be consistent with that. Like right here, do you see how you're not consistent with that? Ugh. The notion that I share in this regard is, imagine you're going to a really fancy restaurant, and that fancy restaurant has a lot of typos in it. Sometimes it's like this, there's a space, extra space. Like, you wouldn't want to shell up a lot of money if you feel like the menu is just kind of off. It just puts like an off taste on everything else, perhaps. It just kind of raises an eyebrow. I guess maybe that's just me, but I don't know. I think the point would be, if you want to command a higher sense of your perceived value or an attention from a reader, I think you should be a stickler about consistency and being consistent. But yeah, I think instead of various, you can maybe be. I would revamp the whole thing. Instead of competing in the very scientific events, it's led the team to the high school to led team to first ever or first regional state finals. Maybe try to be more action and achievement oriented versus responsibility and generic expected experiences oriented. Let's see the next one. Independent coder coding. I would give yourself a title. Like, so for example, let's say your name is, I don't know, JP Hacks. So then now I've branded you as JP Hacks Coding, and maybe that's jphackscoding.com, or you don't need a .com anymore. You probably have a GitHub where you're showing like your white hacker content work. Whatever that may be, I think branding yourself and then using the community, I guess, endorsed your username, your handle, to maybe create something like that is stronger to me. I also don't like how you broke the structure of just more resume verb starting fragments. You have I developed, I created. You don't need the I. That's an extra 2 spaces or 2 character counts that you don't need. You delete that, you get a 3rd character off. You get rid of these really meandering points in my findings in front of school administration and local farmers. You could reduce this down to maybe, you can reduce 1/3 of that size down. That leaves you 1/3 of the space to maybe add another impressive bullet point. So that's another thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, again, rule number 1, be consistent. Rule number 2, be efficient. I would say from there, you'll eventually run into a decision you have to make. Jay, is it better for me to write 2 bullet points in the 150cc I'm giving? Is it worth it to write 2 bullet points and go more in depth? Or is it better in the 150cc to write 3 bullet points and less in depth? Like, you'll run into those types of scenarios when you are being hyper efficient with crafting out your descriptions. And if you are able to put in 1 extra bullet point about yourself that hopefully is impressive, that could be an extra swinging factor that begins to add up in your favor. Right now, you're not doing yourself a favor when your opening line is lead team meetings. Like, that immediately tells me this is not an extraordinary student. This is a ordinary student. And we obviously want to try to be coaching towards the extraordinary. We have honors here. Yeah, you can worry about that later. I'm not going to spend too much time there. You have additional information. Cool. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and upload this and share this for the rest of the viewers. But yeah, the application is out. I thought you'd have to wait until August 1st, but it seems like you can do it now. So go get it. go get it. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.